So I recently uploaded a video about how everyone is wrong about masculinity, and while it does a good job of explaining why everyone is wrong about masculinity, there is a certain. This topic has many depths and many angles, so I will be exploring it in multiple ways. But something I wanted to delve deeper into that didn't really fit into the previous upload was the existential part of loneliness in the masculinity crisis that is so talked about nowadays. And find the I find the narrative, the description weird, right? Because usually when you talk about male loneliness and how men are doing so terribly and how vulnerable and exposed they are and all of the crisis stuff, usually they talk about loneliness from a relationship perspective. When they want to talk about male loneliness, they bring up statistics about dating, how many people are in relationships and whatnot. Um, and that's like a very specific thing. Or they talk about the lack of friends, or they talk about a third very specific thing, which is the empty void inside that always makes you feel like you're losing, always makes you feel like something is missing, makes you feel empty despite all the goals and dreams that are being accomplished, despite the developed character that Jordan Peterson suggests that you should build. And he's not wrong. Of course, it's a good thing to develop yourself, but if you're not doing it with the right context in mind, I think I think you're gonna be heading for a disappointment and a hopelessness that never really ends because you're doing it all wrong. You're still focused on the material. You're still focused on your purpose, your success, your goals, your job, wife, family, whatever. Those things are good and valuable. Once again, they should be treated with deep consideration, but it's not enough. And you can see this because loneliness is an interesting thing. There's a lot of people who have friends and a wife and children and a good job, and they still feel lonely as the people who have zero friends. You often see this with like fancy middle class that looks like they have everything on the outside, but on the inside they feel like the incel who doesn't have all the things that they do. So those are very specific issues, right? All of those three, they're very different categories of issues and a variety of loneliness, and it all gets muddled together. Like, is male loneliness really a topic that can just be reduced to pussy? Like, are relationship statistics relevant if we're going to talk about loneliness? Things like that can be worth considering when you delve into this topic. But also, if you want to talk about the solutions, they're very different areas, right? Someone who needs friends or a partner, they are in the category of needing to develop their social intelligence. So that's something you can learn, that's something you can study. Different people do it different ways. You can either approach it like a scientist and learn a ton of psychology and tips and tricks about charisma and social stuff. Even an autistic person can learn that. You can study it, learn it. You can do the complete opposite, not study anything, just go join a dance class. Just subject yourself to social settings and eventually you pick something up. Like that's one way, one problem, right? But then the other problem is far more advanced than anyone can accurately, satisfactorily analyze thus far. And it's why I'm hesitant to even talk about it, because when we speak of the identity crisis men are experiencing, the feeling of life being a war, the never ending depression and anxiety, when we talk about the confusion philosophically, mentally, I mean, what's really required there is a transformation of consciousness. But a lot of the people that follow Jordan Peterson religiously, ironically, are not religious. They're intellectual to the point where it's pretentious. They worship their mind. They really believe in logic and reason and work, career, ambition, all that stuff. And they're usually atheists. So you have the typical average Western man, in a sense. And what do you lack in the West? Any form of spirituality. Jordan Peterson, even though he talks about religion, rarely advertises it well, rarely gets into the substance of things. He uses man picking up his cross like a metaphor for, bearing the brunt of the world and not giving up and having some sort of fighting spirit. But it's not really about that. There is a process in Christianity. There is something called deification, and it could be perceived as a mystical process, but it's essentially about developing your relationship to God in a way that you can feel God in your consciousness, know that you are with God. You're working together with God when you do things. You don't just set out to accomplish things to impress people. This is about the expression of your soul. And the expression of the soul cannot be discussed if you're just going to insist on being a godless atheist who just wants to ejaculate a bunch. Like, you want all the good stuff, but you don't want to accept the hierarchy of being. I didn't explain it the best way there, but if you have even remotely a sense of humor, I think you might understand what I'm trying to get across. And if you don't, sucks to be you. Just really sucks to be you. I don't feel comfortable delving deeper into the topic of deification because a mystical process is very difficult to summarize in a few sentences. And especially considering many of the people watching this will simply recoil at the idea of spirituality. But I believe the solution lies somewhere there, because, like, look at Western men and what do you see? You see a bunch of people who don't believe in God. You see a bunch of people with no respect for spirituality, family, community, and the actual meaning of the word. Like, you're not doing community just because you're going to church. There's a ton of assholes at church. Okay, so just going to church doesn't make you religious. Definitely doesn't make you spiritual, right? You look at Western men and they simply live for ambition. They think that self-fulfillment, self-development, self-actualization happens through your dream job, your career, your company that you want to start up, your financial success in the human world. Not really too focused on the Spirit, and especially not focused on the Holy Spirit, which you need in you to have a satisfying and meaningful relationship to life itself. So I would like to open up a discussion on this, because I'm not comfortable going out like a guru like these people do and saying, this is it. But I do want to discuss this and offer my thoughts and see what you think, and hope that something worthwhile can happen in the comment section, because I believe this is a conversation that needs to be had more, but it needs to be constructive and maybe a fresh angle would be helpful. I'm pretty tired of going online and seeing everyone on the internet and everyone in mainstream media talking about men's issues, men's loneliness, men's crisis, and it's always about pussy or work. Really fucking stupid. It's essentially always about pussy or work. Happiness comes from finding the right pussy or the right work. And that's not what a Christian believes. He might be very thankful for both of these things, but fundamentally, that's not what a Christian believes. And there are reasons for why. So, I hope you enjoy this video, and it's at least a good start for something. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section, and I might have more ideas for videos in the future. Also, gonna shamelessly plug my book, but only for Swedish people, because it's still only out in Swedish, link in video description. But the English translation is on the way, and don't forget about me. Yeah. Thank you for watching.